All right, now we're going to talk a bit about using crossover frequencies to determine the order of linked genes. All right, first of all, some important terms. Linked genes refer to genes that are found on the same chromosome. So let's say we had some genes that were very close to each other. For these two to cross over within the homologous chromosome, the chromosome has to break somewhere between them so that they can swap over. Now let's look at this gene and this gene right here. They're much further apart. And that means there's more places where this chromosome could break and they could potentially cross over. The point being, the further two genes are apart from each other, the more likely they are to cross over to the other homologous chromosome during prophase 1. So we can use the frequency of crossover almost like an estimate of length. The more two genes cross over, the further apart they are, is essentially where we're going. We can use that to do what's called gene mapping, to essentially determine the relative order of the genes on a chromosome, the relative order, let's say, of linked genes on a chromosome. So let's see what we got here. We've got a listing of genes A, B, C, D. They're linked, they're on the same chromosome, and we're looking at how often they cross over, their crossover frequency. What I would recommend for you to do in a problem like this is to take the two that seem to cross over the most, write those down, like so, and go ahead and label that they cross over 75% of the time. And that means if they started off on the same chromosome, these two genes 75% of the time end up on the other chromosome. They cross over that much. So now you want to find one of these genes that's close to either gene A or gene B. And you know it's close because it doesn't cross over with it very much. That would be gene C. Gene C could be located here, but it just as easily could be located here. This is a crossover 15%. So it would be nice if we had a comparison between C and B. But notice they didn't give that to us because it would make it too easy. So now we need to look at gene D. And if you look at gene D crosses over with A 40% of the time. It crosses over with B 35% of the time. Well, what I'm hoping that's telling you is that D is somewhere between A and B, and it's a little closer to B than it is to A. So gene D is somewhere in here. It crosses over here 35% of the time, and it crosses over here 40% of the time. Well, now we can compare C to D to determine if C is actually here or if it's here. Notice that C and D cross over 55% of the time. Well, that tells you that C can't be here in the middle, because the crossover between A and D is only 40, but the crossover between A and C is 15. Well, I'm hoping you see that that means that these two should cross over 55% of the time. So what we've just done is we've mapped this chromosome. We know the relative order of the genes on it. A possible answer could be C, A, D, B. Another possible answer could be B, D, A, C. We just flip-flop the order. Because this doesn't tell you the order, this doesn't tell you where they're at on the chromosome, it just tells you what's next to what. It's not an actual measurement of length, it's an estimation of it, but it tells you the relative order of the genes on the chromosome. And in this case, our answer is either CADB, which notice is not one of our choices. The correct answer here is BDAC. Let's look at one more example of crossover frequency problems. So here we have determine the sequence of genes along a chromosome given the following recombination frequencies. A and B crossover or have 8 map units. Sometimes instead of telling you the percentage of the time they cross over, they give you this unit called a map unit, which, like I said, they're using almost like an inch or something, like a unit of measurement. Each map unit, though, is equal to 1% crossover. So this is no different than the last problem we worked. So as I said before, we want to find the two that appear to be the most far apart, that cross over the most often, and that would be B and D. Write them out like so. They cross over 33 map units, or 33% of the time. Try to find a gene that's near either side. Well, A and B only cross over 8 map units. So A could be here, or A could be here. Now, here they were nice to us. They gave us a comparison between A and D. Notice A and D only cross over 25% of the time. Well, from B to D is only 33. That means A cannot be here. A's got to be here between the two. This is 25 map units. And A to B is 8 map units. And notice that 8 and 25 add together to be 33. In a real world problem, they may not add to be exactly 33. They might add it to be 33.6 or 34. But they should add up to be close. We're still missing a gene. We're missing C. So A and C cross over 28% of the time. And B and C cross over 20 map units. So we need to figure out where it's at. And it looks like C is going to be... C has to be over here because A and C cross over 28% of the time. B and C only cross over 20% of the time. So our answer on this particular problem is C, B, A, D, or same answer, D, A, B, C. Let's go ahead and look at one more. So this time, again, we have 4 genes. This time they're J, K, L, and M. They're linked. They're on the same chromosome. We have the the crossover frequencies. So we want to find the 2 that seem to be the most far apart, which are going to be J and M. They cross over 12% of the time, 12 map units. Find one that seems to be close to either end, and that's going to be K. K could be here, or K could be here. We need to figure out which side K is on. So it would be nice if we had a comparison between K and M. We do not. So let's look at J. Actually, let's look at L. L and M cross over 7% of the time. L and K cross over 8%. So that's telling me that L has to be somewhere between J and K. So we're going to put L somewhere right here. L and M cross over 7% of the time. Well, that's telling me if J to M is 12, then and L to M is 7, then L to J has to be 5. Well, if L to J is 5 and K to L is 8, K can't be here. K has to be out here. So K and L cross over 8% of the time. J to K is 3. So we've now mapped this chromosome. Our answer is K, J, L, M, or M, L, J, K. All right, I hope that helps.